The champagne glass trembled slightly in Olivia Chen's hand as she caught his reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse. 7 years had passed, but she'd know those eyes anywhere. The annual Harrington Technologies Gala hummed around her, executives in tailored suits. The soft melody of a jazz quartet, the glittering Manhattan skyline beyond the glass. But suddenly, the room seemed to shrink. Ethan Westbrook stood frozen by the bar, his shock mirroring her own. His gaze darted to her left hand where the 4-carat emerald-cut diamond caught the light. Then to the man approaching her from behind, Marcus Harrington, CEO of Harrington Technologies and her husband of 18 months. "Darling," Marcus said, his palm warm against the small of her back. "The Goldsteins want to discuss their donation to the foundation." She turned to him, composing herself with practiced elegance. "Of course." As Marcus guided her across the room, she felt Ethan's eyes burning into her back. The weight of their shared history pressed against her chest, threatening to crush her. But she was no longer the woman he'd destroyed. She was Olivia Harrington now. She glanced over her shoulder, allowing herself one final look. The confusion in his eyes almost made her smile. He never expected to see her here, in this world, as this woman. That was exactly as she'd planned it. 3 years earlier. "I'm thinking about asking Ethan to move in," Olivia said, scrolling through apartment listings on her laptop. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the small cafe where she and Natalie had met for their weekly lunch. "Wow, that's a big step," Natalie replied, tucking a strand of her copper hair behind her ear. Her hesitation was barely perceptible, but Olivia had known her since college, long enough to catch it. "You don't think it's a good idea?" Olivia asked, looking up from her screen. "No, it's not that. Natalie swirled her straw in her iced latte. "Are you sure you're ready? You've only been together for what, a year and a half?" "Almost 2 years," Olivia corrected, closing her laptop. "I love him, Nat. We talk about the future, about building something real, together." She didn't mention the countless nights she'd lain awake wondering if she was enough for him, if her marketing manager, salary and modest ambitions could satisfy. A man who craved luxury and status the way Ethan did. "I'm happy for you," Natalie said finally, squeezing Olivia's hand. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I just want you to be sure." Olivia nodded, but a familiar unease settled in her stomach. She had cultivated the habit of second-guessing herself around Natalie, who had always seemed to move through life with an effortless confidence that Olivia envied. They had been unlikely friends from the start. Natalie, the vivacious art major who commanded attention, and Olivia, the quiet business student who calculated risks before taking them. "I am sure," Olivia said firmly, more to herself than to Natalie. "Besides, you're the one who introduced us at your gallery opening. You thought we'd be perfect together, remember?" "Of course I do." Natalie's laugh seemed forced. "Just doing my duty as your best friend." Later that night, Olivia prepared dinner at her apartment, chopping vegetables with methodical precision as she waited for Ethan to arrive. At 32, she had built a comfortable life, a junior executive position at a marketing firm, a small but tasteful apartment in Brooklyn, and a relationship with a man she believed she would marry. Ethan, with his architect's eye for beauty and charming ease around powerful people, represented everything she wanted for her future. When he finally arrived, 40 minutes late, he brought the scent of expensive cologne and early spring air. "Sorry," he said, pressing a quick kiss to her lips. "Got caught up with the Riverside project. Daniels is riding my ass about the design revisions." He poured himself a generous glass of wine before loosening his tie. "The client who wants the glass house?" Olivia asked, remembering his excitement about the prestigious project. "That's the one. If I nail this, I could make partner by the end of the year." His eyes gleamed with ambition. "Speaking of which, I ran into Marcus Harrington at lunch today." "The tech mogul?" Olivia raised an eyebrow, continuing to prepare their meal. "Yeah, turns out he knows Daniels. He mentioned they're looking to build a new headquarters downtown." Ethan swirled his wine. "I made sure to introduce myself. That kind of contract would change everything for the firm." Olivia smiled, genuinely happy for him. "That's incredible, Ethan." He set down his glass and approached her from behind, wrapping his arms around her waist. "We're so close, Liv. Everything we've talked about, it's all within reach." She leaned back into him, allowing herself to believe it. But as they ate dinner, Ethan's phone buzzed repeatedly with texts he quickly dismissed, and twice he stepped onto the balcony for calls he said were work-related. By the time they fell into bed, the nagging doubt had returned, nestled just beneath her ribs. The following weeks brought subtle shifts, Ethan canceling plans at the last minute, coming home later, growing distracted during their conversations. Olivia told herself it was work pressure, the Riverside project consuming his time and attention. She supported him silently, taking care of the details of their life together while he pursued his ambitions. When Natalie began declining their regular lunch dates with vague excuses, Olivia barely noticed, too preoccupied with the growing distance between her and Ethan. "You're being paranoid," her coworker Zoe told her over coffee one morning, after Olivia confessed her concerns. "Architects keep crazy hours, especially when they're trying to make partner." "I know," Olivia sighed. "But something feels different." "He's different." Zoe studied her with concern. "Have you talked to him about it?" "I've tried. He says I'm imagining things." "Then maybe you are," Zoe shrugged. "Or maybe you're not. Either way, you deserve to know the truth." The truth. Olivia turned the word over in her mind as she walked back to her office. What would she do if the truth wasn't what she wanted to hear? That evening, she returned home early from work with takeout from Ethan's favorite Thai restaurant and a determination to clear the air between them. The apartment was quiet when she entered, but Ethan's keys sat in their usual spot on the entryway table. He was home early too, unusual for recent weeks. "Ethan?" she called, setting down the bags of food. No answer. She moved toward the bedroom, noticing his suit jacket draped over the back of a dining chair. The shower wasn't running. The silence felt heavy, expectant. When she pushed open the bedroom door, the truth she had been seeking revealed itself with brutal clarity. Ethan and Natalie, tangled in her sheets, so absorbed in each other they didn't immediately notice her presence. The takeout bags slipped from her fingers. Natalie saw her first, her eyes widening with horror. "Olivia," Ethan jerked away, fumbling for the sheet. "Liv, I can explain," but there was nothing to explain. The scene told the entire story, one that had been unfolding right under her nose for months while she'd made excuses for both of them. Olivia didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply turned and walked out, her mind curiously blank except for one thought that cut through the shock. This was inevitable. You always knew you weren't enough for him. The aftermath unfolded with the surreal quality of a nightmare. Olivia moved through the motions of dismantling her life, packing her belongings while Ethan was at work, finding a temporary sublet, deflecting calls from both him and Natalie. "You can stay with me as long as you need," Zoe insisted, helping her carry the last of her boxes to the car. "I just need some space to figure out what comes next," Olivia replied, her voice hollow. What came next was anger, a slow-burning rage that awakened her at night and followed her through her days. It wasn't just the betrayal, though that cut deep. It was the realization that she had spent years diminishing herself, accommodating Ethan's ambitions while neglecting her own. "I want to destroy them," she admitted to Zoe one night. 3 weeks after discovering the affair, they sat on Zoe's balcony, sharing a bottle of wine as the Brooklyn streets hummed below. "Is that terrible?" "It's human," Zoe said simply. "But destruction takes energy you could use to rebuild yourself." Olivia considered this, watching condensation gather on her wine glass. What if I could do both? The next day, she walked into her office and resigned, surprising both herself and her boss. With her savings and severance, she had enough runway to take a risk. She enrolled in a digital marketing strategy course, something she'd always wanted to pursue but had put aside because Ethan had called it unnecessary, given her experience. 2 months later, as she was updating her resume, a LinkedIn notification caught her attention. Marcus Harrington, the tech CEO Ethan had mentioned meeting, was looking for a director of brand development for Harrington Technology's new charitable foundation. Olivia stared at the screen, an idea taking shape. She'd never been impulsive, had always calculated risks carefully. But something had shifted inside her. She had nothing left to lose. She applied for the position with a boldness she didn't recognize, highlighting her strategic vision and emphasizing her experience with high-net-worth clients from her previous role. When the call came inviting her for an interview, she wasn't entirely surprised. What surprised her was her complete lack of nervousness as she rode the elevator to the top floor of the Harrington Technologies building. Marcus Harrington wasn't what she expected. In his early 40s, he carried his success with a quiet confidence that contrasted sharply with Ethan's hungry ambition. He asked thoughtful questions about her application and listened to her answers with genuine interest. "You're making a significant career shift," he observed, studying her resume. "Why the foundation?" "I believe in using privilege to create meaningful change," she answered honestly. "And I'm at a point in my life where I want my work to reflect my values." His eyes, a striking blue that reminded her of deep water, held hers for a moment. Refreshing to hear someone talk about values rather than just impact metrics and optics. 2 days later, she was offered the position. 1 month after that, she moved into a sleek apartment in Manhattan, paid for with her substantial new salary. The woman who looked back at her from the mirror each morning was transforming, sharper, more focused, no longer defined by what she had lost, but by what she was building. She hadn't planned to see Ethan again, but fate had other ideas. 6 months into her new role, she attended a benefit where Harrington Technologies was being honored for its charitable work. She was discussing renovation plans for a community center with a board member when a familiar voice behind her made her freeze. "Olivia?" She turned slowly, coming face to face with Ethan. He looked both the same and different, still handsome in his tailored suit, but there was uncertainty in his expression that she'd never seen before. "Ethan," she acknowledged coolly. "I'm surprised to see you here." "I could say the same," he replied, his eyes taking in her designer dress, her confident posture. You look amazing." "Thank you." She took a sip of her champagne, watching him over the rim of her glass. "I heard you were working for Harrington," he said, shifting uncomfortably. "I didn't believe it at first." "Believe it." She smiled slightly. "I'm the foundation director." His eyes widened. "That's impressive. I've been trying to reach you, you know. To apologize, to explain." "There's no need," she cut him off. "How's Natalie?" The question seemed to throw him. "We're not—" "That ended shortly after you destroyed our relationship?" She finished for him. She felt no satisfaction at the news, only a distant acknowledgement that some betrayals poison everything they touch. Before he could respond, Marcus appeared beside her. "Olivia, the mayor would like to discuss the education initiative." His hand rested lightly on her back, a casual gesture that spoke of familiarity. "Of course," she said. Then added, "Marcus, this is Ethan Westbrook. He's an architect with Daniels & Associates." Marcus extended his hand. "Westbrook, I remember you. We met at Angelo's about a year ago." Ethan shook his hand, a flash of recognition crossing his face. "Yes, sir. I'm actually working on preliminary designs for your downtown headquarters project. Are you?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I'll have to take a closer look at those. Olivia has an excellent eye for design. Perhaps we should get her input." Olivia smiled, feeling Ethan's gaze burning into her. "I'd be happy to." As they walked away, Marcus leaned close. "Ex-boyfriend? Is it that obvious?" she asked. "Only to me," he said, a hint of protectiveness in his tone. You tensed when he approached. She looked up at him, struck by his perception. "Yes, it ended badly." "His loss," Marcus said simply. And in that moment, something shifted between them, something Olivia hadn't planned for. Their relationship evolved naturally over the following months. Marcus was unlike any man she'd known. Thoughtful, secure in himself, genuinely interested in her ideas. Their professional relationship gradually became personal, though Olivia maintained clear boundaries, determined not to repeat past mistakes. "You're falling for him," Zoe observed over brunch, 8 months after Olivia had started at the foundation. "I'm cautious," Olivia corrected her. "My judgment hasn't exactly been stellar in the past." "This is different," Zoe insisted. "You're different. She was different." The betrayal had forced her to rebuild herself from the ground up, to recognize her own value separate from anyone else's validation. When Marcus finally kissed her after a late night working on the Foundation's annual report, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of her desire without diminishing herself. "I've wanted to do that for months," he confessed, his forehead resting against hers. "What took you so long?" she asked, smiling. Their courtship progressed with an intensity that surprised them both. Marcus, who had built an empire through careful calculation, found himself making decisions with his heart. Olivia, who had once been content to follow someone else's dreams, discovered the power of pursuing her own. When he proposed 11 months after they met, on the rooftop garden of the Harrington building with the Manhattan skyline stretched out before them, she said yes, without hesitation. The diamond he slipped onto her finger caught the last rays of sunset, sending prisms of light across her skin. "I never expected you," he told her, his voice rough with emotion. "You've changed everything." The wedding was intimate but lavish, a celebration covered by society pages that featured photos of the tech mogul and his stunning bride. If Ethan saw the coverage, he made no contact. Natalie sent a message of congratulations that Olivia deleted without responding. Life as Mrs. Harrington opened doors Olivia had never imagined passing through. She expanded the Foundation's work, leveraging Marcus's connections and her own growing influence to create programs with real impact. They traveled the world, divided their time between Manhattan and their house in the Hamptons, and built a partnership based on mutual respect and shared values. It was at the groundbreaking ceremony for Harrington Technologies' new headquarters that the confrontation she had both dreaded and anticipated finally came. Ethan's firm had won the contract, not through any influence of hers, but through a blind selection process Marcus had insisted upon to avoid any appearance of favoritism. She spotted him across the construction site, standing with a group of architects and engineers. Their eyes met briefly before she turned her attention back to the photographer capturing her and Marcus for the company newsletter. Later, as guests mingled under a white tent erected for the reception, Ethan approached her while Marcus was engaged in conversation with the mayor. "Congratulations on your marriage," he said quietly. "I didn't get a chance to say it before." "Thank you," she replied, keeping her voice neutral. "You didn't waste any time, did you?" A hint of bitterness crept into his tone. From marketing manager to CEO's wife in what, a year and a half? The old Olivia might have flinched at the implication. The new one merely raised an eyebrow. "Is there something you wanted to discuss about the project, Ethan? Because otherwise, I'm not interested in having this conversation." He stepped closer. "Did you plan this? Get close to Harrington to what? Make me jealous? To show me what I gave up?" She laughed, the sound genuine in its disbelief. "My God, you really do think the world revolves around you, don't you?" "Then why him? Of all the men in New York, because I love him," she cut in, the simple truth stopping him short. "Because he sees me, really sees me. Not as an accessory to his ambitions or a placeholder until something better comes along." Ethan's face flushed. "That's not fair. What we had was a lie," she finished for him. "One I was too blind to see until I found you in bed with my best friend." "I made a mistake," he insisted. "The biggest mistake of my life. Natalie meant nothing. And that makes it worse, not better." She shook her head, pity replacing anger. "You didn't just betray me, Ethan. You betrayed yourself. You threw away something real for something hollow, and now you want to blame me for moving on?" He stared at her, speechless, as though seeing her clearly for the first time. "Mrs. Harrington?" An assistant appeared at her side. "Your husband is looking for you." Olivia nodded. "I'll be right there." She turned back to Ethan. "I need to go." Olivia, wait. He reached for her arm but stopped short of touching her. Are you happy? Really happy? The question surprised her with its sincerity. She considered it for a moment. Yes, she said finally. I am. Not because of who I married or what I have, but because of who I've become. She left him standing alone, making her way through the crowd to where Marcus waited, his face lighting up at the sight of her. As he drew her into his side, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders, the final release of a past she no longer needed to carry. Present day. The Harrington Technologies annual gala continued around them, oblivious to the silent confrontation occurring by the windows. Olivia excused herself from the Goldsteins after a brief conversation about their donation, promising to follow up with details about the community center renovation. She moved through the room with practiced ease, stopping to chat with board members and philanthropists, always aware of Ethan's presence by the bar. When she finally stepped onto the balcony for a moment of quiet, she wasn't surprised to hear the door open behind her. Still hiding at parties, I see, Ethan said, coming to stand beside her at the railing. Getting air, she corrected him. It's not the same thing. They stood in silence, looking out at the city lights. 3 years had changed them both. Ethan's success with the Harrington headquarters had led to other prestigious projects, but there was a weariness to him now, a heaviness she recognized from her own past. Are you still with the foundation? He asked finally. I am. We just launched a tech education program for girls in underserved communities. She couldn't keep the pride from her voice. It's been my focus for the past year. He nodded. I've read about it. It's impressive work. Thank you. Another silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken history. Natalie's engaged, he said abruptly, to a gallery owner in Chelsea. Olivia absorbed this information, surprised by her lack of reaction. I hope she's happy. Are you? He asked, echoing his question from 2 years earlier. Still happy? She considered the complexity of her life now, the challenges of balancing her role at the foundation with her marriage, the pressure of public scrutiny, the lingering ghosts of insecurity that still visited in quiet moments. But beneath it all was a bedrock of certainty about herself that no one could take away. I am, she said honestly. It's not perfect. Nothing real ever is. He turned to look at her, his expression unguarded. I've thought about you, about us. What I threw away. Don't, she said gently. It doesn't serve either of us to live in the past. The glass house, he said suddenly. What? The Riverside project, the glass house. It finally got built. A sad smile crossed his face. All that pressure, all those compromises I made to land that contract. And in the end, it's just a house that looks impressive from the outside but offers no privacy, no real shelter. The metaphor wasn't lost on her. Sometimes we build exactly what we think we want, only to discover it's not what we need. Like us, he offered. No, she corrected him. Like who we were. I needed to lose that version of myself to become who I am now. The balcony door opened, and Marcus stepped out. His gaze took in the scene, his wife and her ex-boyfriend standing together under the night sky. But there was no suspicion in his expression, only a quiet confidence. There you are, he said, approaching them. The governor just arrived. I should go, Ethan said, nodding to Marcus. Congratulations again on the education initiative. It's making a real difference. Thank you, Marcus replied. Your work on our headquarters has been exemplary as well. I hear you're up for the McAllister Award this year. Fingers crossed, Ethan said with a small smile. He looked at Olivia one last time. It was good to see you, Liv. The old nickname hung in the air between them. Olivia nodded. You too, Ethan. As he walked away, Marcus came to stand beside her. Everything okay? She leaned into him, drawing strength from his solid presence. Yes, just closing a chapter. Anything I should be concerned about? He asked, his tone light but his eyes serious. She turned to face him fully, framing his face with her hands. Not a thing. You're stuck with me, remember? Best decision I ever made, he said, kissing her softly. Later that night, as they rode home in their car, Manhattan glittering outside the windows, Olivia thought about the path that had led her here. Not the revenge she had once imagined, but something infinitely more valuable. A life built on her own terms, with a love that had come unexpectedly but grown into something true. She had not become Marcus's wife to spite Ethan, though that had been the initial spark. She had become his wife because in finding her own strength, she had found a man who matched it, who celebrated rather than feared it. The car pulled up to their building, and Marcus took her hand as they stepped out onto the sidewalk. Above them, their penthouse waited, its lights warm against the night sky. Not a glass house exposed to the world, but a sanctuary they had built together. "Home," Marcus said, guiding her through the lobby doors. Olivia smiled, the last ghosts of her past finally laid to rest. "Home," she agreed and followed him inside.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.